Hey everybody, it's Crowan. I'm gonna do a video here today on the first lesson in the history of witchcraft. Uh, Ray Buckland's book, what we refer to as Big Blue, the complete book Witchcraft. I'm starting with lesson 1. I'm gonna go a little bit probably into Gary Cantrell's book a little bit here too, but we're gonna start here. So, what is witchcraft? What does it mean? What makes someone a witch? Oh, why do people call themselves witches? There's a lot of questions that are going to be asked. And I'm going to start by quoting one of the very famous authors I know, who I've read her books and she's awesome, Selena Fox. She said, quote, "If you go back far enough, everyone's got a witch in their family." Be as it may, I think that's true because generations of generations, and so on and so forth. You know, different time frames, different, walks of life, different, heritage, and so on and so forth, and we could go on. So, unquote. Here's my theory about witchcraft. We're just going to start the whole biblical thing, and I know I'm going to piss off all the Christians and the whoever and the whatever, but I don't care. This is an instructional video, and it's meant to be, informational. Well, let's start with this Jesus Christ person. What did Jesus Christ do? He performed miracles. He did rituals. He did, he performed magic. Was he a witch? Maybe. Maybe not. Look at Moses. Was Moses a witch? Maybe. Maybe not. We could go on. So, think about the aspect of a witch. What does a witch do? A witch is, and that's a general term for both men and women, is a practitioner of Mother Earth and nature, however you want to word it, that performs rituals to better one's life or the life of their family and friends or others. Okay, simple enough. So, I'm not going to read this verbatim, but I'm going to read a little bit on it. I'm going to discuss other parts of the book. But what I want to touch on real quick is the whole aspect of a little bit about what Ray Buckland perceives as witchcraft. I'm just going to start, I'll find a different paragraph here. Okay. Second paragraph, about the third line down. The late Dr. Margaret Murray traced back and saw witchcraft origins in the Pantheonic times 25,000 years ago. I'm going to pick this so I can actually look at you guys. Okay. She saw it as one or less unbroken line thought into present. This is also Old English, so it's kind of hard to understand. And as a fully organized religion, now we're going to get that in a little bit. Okay, this is Britain sometime. I don't consider the craft organized. I'm going to tell you why in a little bit. Okay, wait for my spot again here, sorry. Okay. Throughout Western Europe for centuries. Before people, Christianity. Okay? Recent scholars have disputed much of what Murray said. She did, however, present some good tangible evidence about magic, thought, and provoking materials as a parallel development of religions in magic, rather known witchcraft per se. Her theories are still respected. Okay, so this is one person. This is one person that did some research and people still respect her thoughts and theories. That's fine. So, if you flip back a few pages, you're going to find pages that had different things. I want you to go to, well, it's page 9 in my book, and what yours would be at. You'll find a picture of Dr. Gerald Gardner. He was one of the very few beginning people who start writing books on witchcraft. He was a very detailed individual. If you find his books still, I recommend you read them. So, let's touch on witchcraft a little bit. Okay? And Ray Buckland said it the right way. He actually does have a video out. If it's still in print, I'm not sure. It's probably hard to find out as it was on VHS. And we're talking, for those of you who don't know what VHS is, I'm sorry, but, you know, it's just not your time to understand that. And everything now is either DVD, Blu-ray, or, you know, online. Which you probably find online, too, I'm sure. But he was one of the very few people out there that start writing books on the craft and expressing what the craft really was. So, let's take the term pagan, for example. The term pagan comes from the Latin term paganus, which means out-of-country folk. So, hear me guys, when you travel to a different city, or a different state, or a different area of your state, you are a pagan. In theory, if you go to, say, Amish country, you're a pagan. You are a out-of-country folk. You are an outsider to them. So therefore, that's where the term pagan comes from. But for our practice, a little more differently. A lot of these theories that you're going to hear out here, and I touched this on one of my introduction videos, is about the myths. No, we don't kill and boil babies for their fat. No, we don't sacrifice and kill animals for Satan or anything like that. I do want to clarify where some of these beliefs and theories come from, though. We're going to start with the whole boiling babies thing. Okay. Theory was that there is a plant or herb out there called baby's breath. It is a simple herb that you see in plants, you know, flower arrangements, that kind of thing. It's that little white-looking thing that they stick in the center and kind of all over the place. It is a very useful tool to different things and herbs and so on and so forth. And there's other purposes for it too, for magical purposes and so on and so forth with that too. Where that term came from, I can honestly say I don't know. That was just something that somebody called it, and then the whole thing got blown proportion. Oh, witches kill babies, they boil them for their fat, blah, blah, blah. Not true, never happened. But a lot of the herbs, old words for different herbs, were, you know, back in the day, catnip was called cat's blood. And this is, again, I'm going from what I was told. Supposedly, in different time frame than what we are in now, and this, again, this is supposed, I don't know if it's just true 100% fact, but I'm just telling you what research I've done. Catnip was originally used as a drug to get high, basically. This is before people knew what weed was. So, but the reason they call it cat's blood was because it used to secrete a red substance. Again, so I was told. So that's why I got the term cat's blood, because cats would go at it, chew on it, get high, and go goofy. People used using this to get high, and they realized it had other medicinal purposes for teas and flus and so on, so they started using it. Well, when you go into a local herbal store and say, hey, I need cat's blood, you go, the fuck? What do you want cat's blood for? And you guys have to try to explain it to them. Okay? That's where that stuff has come from with herbs and different things. You gotta be careful what you call it now, unless you know a really, really good herbalist knows what you're talking about. Animal sacrifice. Okay. Most witches believe two things. One, you're not going to let animals suffer. If you're an animal, you know, pet or you know, wildlife, we'll just see the animals suffer. And much it's going to hurt us to do this, we're going to do it. We're going to put the animal out of its misery, then let it suffer if we can. Your own pets, you know, you got that time comes where you got to do what you got to do. You know, put them down, take them to the vet, say, hey, it's time. You know. But here's where this whole animal sacrifice thing came about, and I expressed this on the video, in the introduction video about it. Certain cultures in some countries believe that instead of letting the runt, per se, suffer and die through winter, they sacrifice to a god and goddess, usually the god and goddess of the hunt, which we'll get into later, and they use that source of food and hide and for clothing and weapons and so on and so forth, the bones and so on and so forth. What they can't use, they put back to nature and let it just decompose. So that's where that comes from. Okay, there's nothing satanic about that. That's just a matter of letting him either suffer or die, and we prefer to sacrifice to a supreme being and, you know, have a food source and source that we can use from that animal. Okay. No, we don't go fly around on broomsticks on Halloween at night. That's an urban myth. That came from, again, what we now call Amish folk or Mennonite folk. They would do rituals to show their crops how high to grow. They stand on their broomsticks, not broomsticks, but their hoes, their rakes, their garden tools, and jump to show the crops how high to grow. That's where that myth came from. Okay. So, another plant I want to touch on is cat's claw. It's an herb. You're not cutting off a cat's claw and using it for ritual. Just so you get that in mind. But a lot of these stories about witches and how, you know, they become these evil people is all just on hearsay. Okay, it doesn't really say anything about, you know, what the truth of it really is. So, Jerome Gardner, Dr. Murray. Okay. So, also, this is just now information for you guys. Let me get back here. We're going to start right here. Page 9, second paragraph, about 4 lines down or so. Okay, it says, the subject of witchcraft was written from the church point of view. Oh boy, here we go. Later books had on these early works from which to refer so not to unnaturally, whatever they're saying about that. They were heavily based against the old religion referring to the craft. In fact, now again, keep this in mind, guys, it was not until 1921 that when Dr. Margaret Alice Murray produced, here's a book here, The Witch Cult in Western Europe, that anyone looked at witchcraft with anything like an obscene light, or an unbased light, sorry. From studying the records of the trials of the Middle Ages, okay, I'm going to skip down here. There's more to read. I'm not going to go into all of that. Okay, there's another book called The God of the Witches, 1921, or 1931. Perhaps you want to look into and see if it's still in print. Also, what else is really in here? Okay, page 11, The Philosophy of Witchcraft. Okay, I'm just going to read a little bit here, and then we're going to go into it. And again, this is what my version says. The craft is a religion of love and joy. It is not full of gloom, of the gloom of the gloom of Christianity. What's an idea of original sin with salvation and happiness? Possible only in afterlife. The music of witchcraft is joyful and lovely. Okay, so it's just going to go on and try different theories of what the philosophy is. I'm just going to read a little bit. I'm going to flip it back. Okay. And there's different places that people have here. Okay. Yeah, okay, let's just go into philosophy of witchcraft a little bit here. The philosophy of witchcraft, again, is the basics of what one thinks the craft is. Without having knowledge of it, assuming that they know a little about it, let's just say. The knowledge of the craft, guys, is not what you might believe it to be. The knowledge of the craft is, again, the inner spirit of yourself, the four elements, earth, air, fire, water, and the Mother Earth and the Earth Father. Okay? Whatever you decide to do with that energy is freely your choice. It's stated here, witchcraft is an organized religion. Okay? In my opinion, the craft is not nowhere near organized. Okay, I'm going to tell you why. Organized religion is something like Christian, Baptist, Pentecostal, Catholic, Mormon, so on and so forth, where there are strict guidelines that must be followed. And I could go on that for tangent for hours. We're not going to do that. The craft is organized to some extent. And hear me by when I say some extent. There are certain guidelines in which a witch must follow. Yes. You know, as far as the real priests on circle casting and the rights and wrongs of, you know, circle etiquette and that kind of thing. But when you're in your own sacred space, okay, there is no laws or regulations that say I can't work from this direction, I can work from that direction. I can't do this spell, that spell. You can do whatever you want in your temple or in your sacred space, whatever you call your work area. As far as organized, yeah, there's some organization to it. If you want to have like a coven or a circle family, that kind of thing, yeah. But witchcraft is not organized. It is the free nature and free spirited of the individual to do what they want. So, okay, I'm going to grab Ken Charles' book here. I'm going to give you his ideas and theories on history. I think he's got something in here. And again, you can read this at your leisure. I'm just giving you the basic guidelines of, you know, what this lesson is. And we're going to discuss it a little bit more, and we're going to probably do a few more videos here on different topics. I'm sure he has something in here. Let's see. Okay. His is what is paganism and Wiccan. Okay, so we're going to start there. Let's see. Chapter 1. So, okay, about the author. Okay. No, wait, that's deflection. Sorry. I'm going to get into the whole. Okay. This is, again, what book you may have. Page 3, second subtitle. Wicca and Paganism. Okay. What does the word Wicca really mean? Okay. And where did it come from? Wicca is only one of the many religions of the world that can be grounded under the umbrella of paganism. So before we can define Wicca, you must define the word pagan. And we discussed this before. Pagan comes from the Latin word paganus, spelled P-A-G-A-N-I, or P-A-G-N, or P-A-G-A-N-U-S. which translates to home dweller, generally meaning country person. Again, we went through this. In the Roman Republic, the word pagani, or pagan, was somehow derogatory. So basically it was a swear word. Go figure. Its applications since, though, so addressed, were considered country cousins. Let's them get started on that one. Okay, it goes on and on about, that kind of thing. Also, it talks about in this book, flip the page here. Okay, here's an important fact here. Hold on, okay. In 1993, Encyclopedia Britannica, at the 1989 Cambridge Fact Finder, wherever that is, total of the self-defined pagan religions accounts approximately 50% of all religions. Okay, and then it goes into more detail about that. There's also a note here. 1999 World Book Encyclopedia defines Wicca as a practice of witchcraft wherein most witches call themselves religious Wiccans. Okay, we're not going to get into the whole different sects of paganism right now. That's later on. There's just different references here on what paths and traditions people follow and that sort of thing. So, in this book, if you're the first chapter, you're going to find a chapter summary. That's just kind of a summary of what it's been told, notes, footnotes, that kind of thing. But when you read through this book, and again, your book may vary a little bit from mine. I'm going to see here. Okay, mine is page 16 through 18. You have a list of questions. Probably about, I'd say, they vary from, this one happens to have 10 questions. Okay, this is just to recap on what you remember, what you know. So, here's what you understand, guys. Now, I'm going to say this, but I hope you guys don't do it. I don't want you guys to go to the back of this book, and yes, they are in there, unfortunately, which I think is kind of dumb, but I know why they're in there to teach people. Don't go to the back of the book, find the answers, and write them down verbatim. I want you guys to put the words in your own context. Each lesson has the answers to it in the back of the book. I want you guys to review these questions and answer them in your own context. I want you guys to remember what you learned. Okay? Can you check on them afterwards? Of course you can. Sorry, the light got funky there for a minute. So, keep that in mind. Use it for reference, not for a verbatim answer. So, the other thing I want to touch on what the history of witchcraft is, the history of witchcraft can go back so far that nobody really knows where it came from. But nobody really knows who started it. But as I said in my last video, every religion had its similarities and its differences and every other stuff. I encourage you guys to go to churches and, no one is new, you're a witch, just go to church and watch, what you do versus what they do. There are a lot of similarities, a lot of differences. The history of the craft can vary on so many aspects. There's a theory about that churches stole the witchcraft from us. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. But what you gotta consider, folks, is this. it's not a matter of knowing where the history came from or where the guidelines came from. Just know what you're doing. Read up on your history, read up on where you came from, read up on where your, family history and so on and so forth and such, and just learn things. Don't just go into this and not know the ABCs of the craft and not know where you're, why you are or what you are or so on and so forth. I wasn't going to, I think I'm going to touch on this real quick. Just got to find this book here. I think somewhere in the back, I'm not sure. One thing I want you guys to do is, here we go. The other thing I want you guys to really consider, and I'm not going to read all of them, I'm just read some of them. Actually, I might just go through all of them. Again, this is my book. Page 310 to page 3... Oh, hold on. 313. Okay. They call it Wiccan denominations, but I'm just going to call it Wiccan path. It's just easier because denomination sounds more religious-y to me. But there's a list here. You've got Alexandrian Wicca. You've got American Celtic Wicca. I'm not going to say Wicca every time, just so you guys know. Australian, Church of Wide, Truth Tag, Church of the Crescent Moon, Circle Wicca, Color of the Forest, and Far and Forever, Dorbian Witchdom, Feminist Weiss, that's more of a women type thing, Forest Wicca, Gardnerian, Juronarian, Nova, Northern Way, SEAC, and there's a bunch of others in here. So, what I want you guys to do, and that's all of them, is I want you to breeze through those before you start getting further into craft here, and see which one kind of fits you. Okay, what this is going to do is this is going to build you up to knowing what path you want to follow later. Do you have to stick with that particular path? Of course not. But what this is to do is this is to build you up so you can at least have some guidelines. This is what I like to follow, but I want to go into my own thing later. So just so you get that kind of idea in your head that, that's the kind of path you guys want to follow, but it might be a path that you're going to be strictly on. So keep that in mind when you guys get into this. I'm going to do one more quick video. I'm going to end this one because this is one lesson. I don't want to get lessons too much in together here. So I'm going to end this lesson real quick, get ready for the next one, and I'll be right back. As always, I encourage you to contact me. My information is on the YouTube channel under the About page. So feel free. Blessed be.